It's just a minute after 12. So welcome everybody. I'm Jay Gentry from Passive House, California, and want to welcome you to this meeting. I'm very pleased and much looking forward to it. I think the streamlined and broad and much more effective way that Source 2050 can gather and help those of us who are working on passive house level projects choose and then get the products is going to be a great meeting as we go. So welcome everyone. We've got the meeting today. We'll have a meeting coming up next month. It's going to be about domestic hot water on individual homes and multifamily buildings. And it'll be in the newsletter and also we can see that. But welcome everybody. We are Passive House California. We are a part or an affiliate with the New York, the New York located Passive House Network across the country. We are part of IFA, the International Passive House, and the Passive House Institute. So that's who we are. And just getting started, the first thing that we always do at these kind of meetings or things, it's pretty common, is to first of all thank our sponsors. We have 3 silver sponsors: Small Planet Supply, Minutair, and Earthbound Homes. Minutair is national or international, and Small Planet Supplies. People probably know who that is. A lot of people here would not know Earthbound Homes. They are a local or a Bay Area contractor that have multiple passive house projects underway, and I think some people from there will probably be attending. And then beyond the silver sponsors, we have a bunch of supporting sponsors, and you'll recognize 475 Building Products, Mitsubishi, Fergus Garber Architects, Ream, Hayward Lumber, which is here, the Heinrich team, which is a real estate firm that's very interested and very leaning in to help us, Pete Moffett Construction, another Bay Area construction company, Stiebel Eltron that you'll know, CBHPA, which is a shading organization. They do shading. In fact, they were just two meetings ago. They were our community meeting. Good Space is another high performance builder in the area. You know who Prosoco is. Intelligent Membranes is they provide membrane, the very high performance membranes, and of course Rockwool, the company. We all know who Rockwool is, and use those products. So thank you to the sponsors that are there. Thank you for those of you who are attending. I will now go ahead and unshare my screen, and we'll let Kim take over whether we're going to do introductions or break into groups.
Hi, everyone. Hi, thank you, Jay. Thank you for that introduction. It's so great to see everyone. Such a great turnout today. There's a lot of us here today, and we want to make sure we give enough time to our presenters so that we can hear all about the great stuff going on at Source 2050. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to randomly open up a breakout room. We'll be in the breakout room for 5-6 minutes. I'll type it a little 3 and 2 minute warning, just so we can make sure we run through everybody. And then we'll all come back. But during that time, please introduce yourselves to each other, get to know each other, connect. That's what we're all here for. So I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, and you should be able to go into them now, and then I'll start a timer and we'll see everybody out here back soon. Let's see. So we have John and Justin and Shannon from Source 2050. So why don't you all take it away? We're very much looking forward to hearing from you.
Great. Thanks very much. So I'll do a little bit of an introduction and then introduce you to Shannon, who's going to give you a bit of a tour of the site. And Justin will tell you a little bit about how he works with contractors. My name is John Knapp. I'm the co-founder of Source 2050. Source 2050 grew out of a conversation that I started with my co-founder, Michael Ingui, who's a passive house architect in New York, Baxter Ingui Architecture. We started the conversation about a decade ago. He was my architect. I did a passive house retrofit for my townhouse in Brooklyn. We certified in 2015. And I learned a lot in that process. And things have changed in the subsequent 9 years. But we saw at the time really where what the promise of Passive House was, and some of the obstacles that were going to face its broader adoption if they weren't solved. Um, two that we identified kind of out of the gate were skills, particularly at the trade level, and sourcing. And so we started to look at how we could make it easier for teams to exchange information. In those early days, it was still very, very difficult there's a lot of white papers and energy modeling and architectural write-ups and so forth. But for the people actually, installing the tape, actually doing the work at the trade level, it was very, very difficult. And everyone kind of felt like they were out on their own, reinventing the wheel. And in Michael's own practice, he created kind of a collaborative where the teams, project teams, architectural teams, contractors on each of his projects would meet together on one of his projects periodically to learn from each other. And it was just a really successful way to raise the bar, the skills level in the New York area, the Brooklyn area. And the question was, how can we kind of scale that type of information learning? And that kind of conversation is what bloomed into the Passive House Accelerator. I don't know if anyone on this call hopefully knows it, has been involved, presented, has participated, but I would be remiss to not recommend strongly the work that they're doing at the Passive House Accelerator. Shannon, who's joined Source 2050, continues to be a host. She's been involved with the Accelerator from the very early days. And the kind of cornerstone of that programming is a once a week live presentation. It's either a component spotlight where a manufacturer is presenting what their product does and how it can be used in passive projects, or a project team presenting before and after, what they walked into, what the goals were, what the obstacles were, how they overcame them. And the community that's grown around it over the last 4 years has just been really remarkable. Really enthusiastic, high quality, as well as just thoughtful and caring community that really wants to share their insights and help everybody raise the bar. So it's been amazing to watch that community grow. But one of the things that we saw commonly was in the course of a project presentation, you'd only get a few slides in, and someone in the chat room would suddenly be, wait, go back a slide. What was that you used there in the basement? Do you have a name for that? Do you have a distributor phone number? Is that available in Nebraska? So we would see very quickly that there was still this real difficulty in finding the specialized products, the high performance products and solutions that were needed to reach passive and high performance construction standards. So we about 2 years ago started thinking about what a solution could look like. We knew that there were obviously some retailers that were out there, some products that were available online, but not in any kind of programmatic, systematic way where you could actually search and find products by the actual metrics, the performance data that matters. Vendors we found as maybe your experience as well, are not particularly good at telling you what their products actually do, what different products do compared to each other, even within their own product lines. And they kind of bury, the information that you actually care about, the perm rating, the fire rating, whatever it is, certification. You're digging through PDFs and all the rest of it, trying to find the ASTM test or whatever it is. So what if we just spent the time pulling all of that data together and putting it into an accessible format where you could really go in and use filters like you do with other e-commerce experiences, but instead of it being a shoe size or whatever, on Amazon, it would be your perm rating, it would be your dimension of roll, or these things that actually matter, and allow you to go from lots of solutions down to the few that are actually going to meet what you're trying to do on your project. So that was sort of the first value proposition that we saw. If we could create a marketplace that had all these different products, and to do this at a time really when there's so much innovation, there are names everybody knows that have been around for a while, but there are so many interesting products coming out right now. Domestic manufacturers have kind of the R&D departments working overtime. They're launching high performance, product lines that you might not associate that brand with high performance, but they do actually have a really nice high performance product line that they've launched. You've got startups starting from scratch, launching amazing new products on like alternate material insulation products coming online. And then you also have European manufacturers that are kind of finally taking the North American market seriously. It seems like we're going to finally start building properly after all this time they've been watching us. So they're really interested in getting to the market themselves. So with all of this product innovation and all of these new solutions coming online, there just needed to be a way to pull them together, compare them, find the right solution, and more than just find it, but actually know that it's available for your project. Like actually have pricing and lead times, be able to do shipping, and know that it's not just theoretically there in some spec database, but actually a product that can be ordered by your contractor for your project at your zip code and get there within the lead times for your project. So pulling all that data together was sort of part one. Part two is once you've done that, what do you do then? And we thought it was very important to pull it into a spec list, really a offline cart for each project that you're working on. So if you're an architect or an engineer and you're pulling together the wall assembly for a project, you can create an account on Source 2050, and then you start creating your spec list, and you put 123 Main Street. And as you're going through, you're saying, okay, so I need this perm rating, to be vapor open. I need this fire rating, whatever your requirements are. And you're finding the products that match. You're saving those into the 123 Main Street, product list. So you have those all stored together, and you can put your whole wall assembly together. We also have fenestration solutions and the rest of it. So when the contractor is engaged, you're able to hand that list right over to the contractor and say, these are all products that we know hit our spec. These are available for this project zip code. You were able to now put those straight in and make those orders. So that has been really successful. Project teams have really liked that ability to not just be working in the abstract or be taking phone calls left and right from their contractor. Can I use this? Does this meet the spec? Can I use this? What about that? Can I sub this in? Right, to just start off the conversation with a list of products that you already know are going to meet that spec, and really make those decisions based on the data. But really, what's the science? What do we have to achieve here? And let that introduce transparency into the selection process. Not just go with whatever product has better marketing spend or is hitting you with more emails. Actually use the data to make the decision, make it a transparent decision. Hugely important. So that is the not so short story of how we got here, what we launched with the basic value propositions. What we've done in the last 6 to 9 months is start working with project teams in a very holistic way. Shannon, who I'm going to introduce you to in a minute, typically starts the process with the project team as early as possible. She'll jump on a call for half an hour, look at a drawing set ahead of time, and really kind of understand what are you trying to achieve, what are the goals, and start to look at the project really holistically. If we're going to go with this fenestration solution, what does that mean for the mechanicals? What does that mean for the envelope and the rest of it? And start early on building out that spec. As the project matures and the contractor gets involved, the build team is engaged. That's where we have a handoff internally from Shannon to Justin. Justin will then work with the contractor directly. He's the direct liaison with all of our vendors, and he'll work on takeoffs and lead times and job site logistics. You can need a lift gate, all the rest of it to make sure that the products are delivered on time as efficiently as possible. Try to get as much product on one truck as we can rather than 5 LTLs showing up. So your contractor becomes an air traffic controller. Try to get those down to as few deliveries as possible, and figure out what the schedule is. If they've got storage on site, they want to just have everything on hand so they have it when they need it. Great. If it's a city block and there's no storage, they want to kind of sprint things out into just the time deliveries, so they don't have stuff sitting around until they need it. We can work with that too. And Justin's also great with beating up vendors on pricing particularly for volume, for larger projects or high profile projects where there's likely going to be some press or coverage, or it's, you know, public interest type of project. Really good at kind of going back to the vendors and work with them on pricing to reflect the exposure that they're going to get from being involved with this project. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Shannon, who's going to give you a little bit of a tour of the site, talk in a little more depth about what that process looks like. And Justin's going to tell you a little bit about how he works with vendors and with contractors to get the products on site. Last thing I'll say, though, is that probably a quarter to a third of the products we have today are there because early teams that we were working with didn't find them and said, you know, you don't really have any good solutions on thermal break with high PSI that we can put under windows and doors. That's always a frustration. It would be great if you had a solution. We went out and found 4 amazing solutions, you know, in response to that feedback, and now they're available not just for that project, for now every other team that uses Source 2050. So we are so solicitous of those kinds of suggestions. So as we're going through this, if you think of anything, types of products, specific products that are just not available in your area, things that you wish were easier to find, please let us know. We thrive on that. We'd love to get those products, not just to help your project, but again, raise the bar, make those available for every other team that wasn't even aware that that was possible, to learn that it is a solution for them and really help the practice across the board. So without further ado, Shannon, take it over.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having us. Really enjoyed some of your recent webinars and really appreciate this group. There's a brain house you have here that is phenomenal. So as John mentioned, I'm Shannon Pendleton. If you haven't opened the chat already, please open the chat and ask questions as we go along, because between Justin and John and myself, we can pretty much answer anything you could throw at us. So start throwing stuff at us. I'm going to share my screen and give you a taste of Source 2050. We are a sister company of Passive House Accelerator. So we have the same mission, and that's to make the design, build, and buy process simple, automated, and free. So we want to capture pricing and performance and lead time in very early design. And we do that by addressing skills and sourcing, so we can help you turn your firm into a design build firm, even if you're not already a design build firm. So this is a webinar you can find on Passive House Accelerator. For Source 2050, you can share this with your teams, or we'd be happy to do a lunch and learn for you anytime. If you have a project you want to share, you're already doing high performance, reach out to me to get it on Construction Tech. I co-host every 4th Wednesday. This is a great smattering of our brands on Source 2050, and we add more all the time. If you don't see a brand that you love on here, let us know, because we will try to onboard it before you break ground. So what I do on the design side is really help you find what you're looking for on Source, talk about your goals, and act like an in-house Passive House consultant should. Meet you where you are and help you get where you're going. So I'll help you log in, register, create an account. You can look at your orders, your spec list, support, addresses in table of contents, through tiles, or right off the dashboard. And once you log in, you can start to browse categories. As John mentioned, there are flyouts. So you start to call your categories down. And then as you do that, you can also use the filters to search by brand, air tightness, certifications, red list free, compressive strength, the building science metrics that matter to you. And that will start to give a yield of other products that are smaller and smaller that you can then click on to compare. And each product has a small little corner compare button that you can hit. And once you have a few you like, you can hit the master compare up here at the top, and it will drop them into a matrix for you, like John mentioned, Amazon does with shoes, right? Size 8 green, please. And once you get your compare list going, it has an image, it has the price, it has the description, and then it has all those building science metrics that matter to us side by side. So we can look at certifications, we can look at flame spread, all the way down to whether or not it's in stock. Once you find one you like, you can dive in deeper. look at it on its, in the assembly, where it belongs in the assembly, where it belongs on the site, how it gets installed. You can look to see how long the lead time might be, whether or not you've got it in a spec list, or you can start to create a spec list for it. And once you click on a spec list item, you can see whether or not it's got a price attached to it, what your quantity is, whether you've ordered it before, and how to manage it. And you can also, when you're in that main product category, you can look at all of the data that's attached to it. Material safety data sheets, installation instructions, a whole host of things. And I'll show you that on the live site in just a second. When you do manage your list, you can also share it. You can share it with a hot link right here and email that to your team and get feedback from your team on your spec list. Or you can email it to them and it will show up like this as a series of hot links. You can also change ownership of it and give it to your builder to start doing pricing, and they can sign up for price change notifications like I have right here for Havelock Wool loose fill insulation. So beyond that, I'm going to give you a good brief overview of the site. This is the live site. You can see all of our brands right away that we're partnered with NYSERDA to help with their local 97 efforts. And you can see that when you log in right away, it can bring you into your dashboard, or you can just start to surf for items as innocuous in the search bar as parapet or a thermal break or windows. And you can start to see the results that yields. And when you roll over those results, you can start to see what they look like inside the building envelope and maybe where they get installed. So for windows, we've got a whole bunch of different categories, different material types, different performance and price metrics we can hit. If you send us a schedule, we are happy to turn it around and ask you more questions or just turn around pricing. Same thing for liquid, air barriers and vapor retarders, interior and exterior. We have a bunch of different categories there. This compare list is empty. This is a good example of that Delta Dry stucco and stone I was showing earlier, and the files and downloads that you can get. If you do have a spec book and you want to export it and put it into your spec book that you do yourself as a designer, we can give you the back-end Excel spreadsheet in a CSV format, so you can bring all those metrics into your spec book. We can also do a bulk download of anything in your spec book for all of these files and downloads for your project closeout documents or the specs you need to upload to your certification bodies. Or if you're a builder, we can do the same thing for your pricing or your project closeout docs for your client. We also have some really cool things if you haven't seen them from Alpen. This is a fabulous window for retrofits. You leave your current window in place and put this inboard of that, and you can get that window up to Passive House standards without any demo or downtime or moving your tenants out. You can do things that we like to do, like pair them with other products like this over the windowsill PTAC unit. And now you've not only upgraded your windows, but you've upgraded your systems, and no one's had to move out or do any demo. We do have also units for brand new construction that are inside the wall. We've got products for air testing tightness, like our ultrasound leak detector, which will help you get to Passive House levels, whether you're an air boss going around the site looking for leaks, or if you are a verifier or a rater and you need to run reports. So this one's great for just finding leaks. This one's great for running reports, and you can find those leaks even with the door open. This is a great example of someone testing for airtight with the door open. And then lastly, as I mentioned, we're always happy to introduce you to videos on the accelerator for projects that may be like the one you're working on right now to help you source and find the product you're looking for. So feel free to jump into the chat and ask any questions, talk about projects you might be working on. I'm going to drop links in the chat for these videos so you can share them. And if you want to lunch and learn for your firm, whether it's design or build, just give us a holler and we'll set something up on the schedule.
Hi, John. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. I'm building a little project for my son. His kids need more space. So I'm building a freestanding tower in his backyard with a bridge to connect it to his old house. And so I'm looking at some things. And one of them is, how can I get rid of the concrete in a slab? In other words, I'm going to have a slab that's not the finished floor. And so I was wondering about, years ago when this passive house was more passive solar. I'm 50 years an architect. We used brick on sand as a solution because I saw a lot of that in Santa Fe. So that's an example of, you put your sand bed and gravel like you're going to do a slab, you do your vapor barrier. But is there a product that's made for, you don't need a slab, you can just use our thing?
Shannon, you're muted if you're.
I just realized that.
Yeah.
Great question, because we really do want to get rid of concrete. We're also mission driven to get our carbon footprint into our cart so we can put our money where our mouth is. My first question is, are you in a freeze thaw climate?
Oh, it's going to be in Portland, and they had, 15 degrees the other day. So yes.
Yes.
But my perimeter foundation will be insulated. There'll be insulation under what would have been a slab. And I'm just thinking, before I send it to my engineer and he gives me a 4-inch slab, that your presentation is so intriguing, I thought I'd throw it out to you. So it would probably be something on the order of the kind of product that goes over a membrane system for somebody's terrace, that stands on little stands and stuff, except you wouldn't need the little stands, but you might like some interlocking features so that when you stepped on one tile, it wouldn't pick up the corner.
Right.
If it was tile or stone or whatever. I mean, brick will work, but that's, like a whole lot of bricks.
I just set a link into the chat for you for a presentation by Ian Robertson, who has done concrete-free and foam-free foundations. So you might want to check that out.
Thank you.
But there's also in Fine Home Building Magazine, there are a few where they do it with wood and foam.
Yeah, I don't buy that.
I've done it. And I've
Yeah,
done it
but,
in freeze thaw climate
I'm
without
old.
any problems. But the only reason I did it is because I couldn't remove the original slab, and so I went up above it.
Yeah.
With that kind of cross.
Yeah, no, I
plywood
understand the
detail, but
fine home
it's not my
building
go-to.
solution. Yeah, I'm opposed to using wood for that.
I get that. Yeah, once you're below grade, wood can be a real scary proposition.
But
I agree.
so while I have you, I just want to give a reaction. I think your presentation is fantastic, and hopefully you'll be able to talk me through one day later in the week or next week how I can log in and sign up, and
Absolutely.
because it's a very humble project, but it's important to my son, and I want it to be really cool, and I've got some fabulous ideas already.
I'm going to throw that calendar
Very cool.
and our emails in the chat, and you can book a time right now if you want, or just reach out by email, John. Thank you.
Yeah, that goes for
Thank-
anyone that wants to discuss an individual project that wants a little bit more time. You can book a half hour, an hour with us, introduce us to the project, and we can get right into it at any time that's convenient for you. If you click the link that Shannon just set up, you can book right into our calendars for whatever's convenient for yours.
How do I find the link? In my
Go to the
email?
chat in the chat function at the bottom of the screen.
Or you can just email us I'm at Shannon at source2050.com. And I can.
Thank you.
I'm trying to
Great.
scout out the chat for more questions, but
Look, I was hoping Justin could say a few words about, he's sort of the second piece of this, how we work with manufacturers,
Right.
with contractors, and then specifically where obviously not everything can just be bought off the shelf in the cart. We've got windows and mechanical systems that require customization. So Justin, if you could say a
Yeah.
few words
So
on that, that'd be great. Yeah.
of course. So yeah, I've come from a manufacturing background and worked in various roles in business development and sales and marketing for lots of high performance manufacturers. So I've used that background to sort of understand what makes them tick from a volume standpoint, and also from a marketing, project case study standpoint. So interesting projects, things that they can get some credit for, unique things. We go directly to those manufacturers and try to, pitch to them that you deserve an extra discount that we can pass along to you. So I'm constantly fighting that fight for you and your contractors and end users. Yeah, John explained kind of some of the things that I do, but a lot of it's based around, takeoffs and product selection. Also figuring out alternates if you have a crew that's more interested in the liquid applied after you've specified a sheet good. What can we put in place where you don't have to go back all the way up to the model and try to remodel the whole thing? What can we do in lieu of that? So all of the logistics, job site deliveries and all these things, trying to make sure that basically what you've designed, what you've specified, is what you get on the job site on time and it gets installed correctly. So I also liaison with lots of technical things as well. To John's point earlier, there are a lot of products that you can just figure out how many buckets, how many sheets, how many rolls of tape you want to order, click and buy. You don't need to talk to us. But there are custom and semi-custom products available as well. A big one is windows, and the other is mechanicals, right? So we have some forms online that you can begin to populate, and we can go out and get multiple quotes from multiple vendors for you, for windows, for mechanical systems, whatever it may be. And we're here to help. So if you don't want to fill out the form, book some time with us. We'll fill out the form for you, and we can help you shop it. But ultimately, we want you to pick the best products that works for your project, for your budget, for the performance levels you're trying to hit. We're not married to any one brand, so that's the core part of us being an online marketplace. It's to give you the data so you can make the decisions.
That's great. Yeah, and just to underline that point, so we heard a lot from architects that just continue to use the same one or two window companies just because it's sort of a devil scenario, and they're aware that there are all these other great options out there, and but just to learn a new process and understand a different way that shop drawings are going to be done, and need a new rep, and all of that is just so time consuming in the time restraints of a given project. They're happier to just sort of fight through with the one or two that they know, and I think that's a real shame because there's so many great options out there. So what we were trying to do is kind of lower the bar to explore those options. So when we bring vendors on in the fenestration space, we kind of get them to commit to accepting this sort of omnibus schedule that we put together. So if we can get that information from the customer, then any vendor that we have on board will take that and be able to use that data to get you at least initial pricing and budgeting, and decide whether that's an option you want to explore further. And then we can dig in deeper for finishes, hardware, and all the rest of it. But it allows you to explore other options without having to kind of do the legwork to learn a whole new process, which we've seen people really enjoy and appreciate having that ability under one roof. Great. Well, we're almost quarter of, but I wanted to pause into some great questions in the chat. But we're also happy to answer any direct questions, project specific or otherwise. And also, obviously, please you can email us or use that Calendly link that goes right to our calendar to book a 30-minute or 60-minute session. Send us a drawing set ahead of time. We'll review. We'll come prepared to really dig in and start exploring what options are available. But throw it open to any specific questions about what we're doing or anything else that you have right now.
I just wanted to chime in and
Yeah.
speak to what John was talking about passive solar and passive house being the same thing. The two approaches are drastically different. Concrete and thermal mass is a big part of passive solar, and passive house is a very different approach to energy efficiency. Since this is being recorded, just thought we should put that distinguishing factor on board.
Thank you for that.
Excellent. Distinguishing fact. And someone put that in the chat too. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
We also had a question about, how do we deal with things like windows and systems that have so many details? We really look at the products on Source 2050 as options, and we're not here to replace anybody on your team. We're just here to help you as much as you are looking for help. You can use the site without reaching out to us, or you can use the site and reach out to us. But for products like that, we have a lot of onboarding questions, right? Tape is easy. It's a couple of rolls, a certain width, you get your specs on it and you're off to the races. But for windows and mechanicals, we really want to match your project and your goals with the right products and options. So we ask a lot of onboarding questions to make sure that we understand what you're looking for. And that way you're not re-explaining your project over and over again multiple times to different people to see options that might be out there on the market.
One thing I always like to ask is what is your pain point? What is the most frustrating part of your day-to-day on the sourcing end of it? I often hear Windows is the answer to that. But if there are other things you just keep butting up against, or solutions that never quite are exactly what you're looking for, you're always compromising, I'd love to hear. We'd love to hear all those. Is that Brennan? I think you have your hand up. Yeah, you're muted.
Hey, John, thanks so much. This is fantastic. I'm really excited about this. My question is, are you, the big pain point for now decades, for those of us been in this game for a while, the mechanical ventilation systems and sort of certified products. Are you guys encouraging, or do you have a pathway to sort of get manufacturers to actually get their products certified, particularly like new ventilation systems? Because honestly, I've been around for a while and I've been shocked at how slow the North American market is to actually bring decent products to our users. So I'd love to hear if you have any plans for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple answers. One, so we're very much focused on mechanicals now. We started with the envelope, so you see like the categories are really well populated under insulation, rain screen, thermal breaks, membranes, tape, so forth. Then we moved to fenestrations. We've kind of been tackling that, bringing out some great solutions. We're now focusing on mechanicals. There are a lot of great solutions that aren't here yet, that are on their way, that we're tracking and talking with, that we're going to be excited to help introduce into the North American market shortly. So that's really exciting. But specifically on certification, whenever a product has been certified, we're including that as a filter within the category. So you can go into any of our categories and click, PHI or any other sort of declare label, any type of certification, and just filter down to the products that are in that category that are certified. And we're doing that because I think one of the privileged positions we have as a marketplace is that we can really use market forces to force manufacturers to do better across the board. Making them compete by price is one way to do that, to introduce transparency in the market, but also to show the value of those certifications. If we are showing that certified products are being specified and purchased more, and that those sales are happening after those filters have been applied, and that's really good, market evidence to like, this is something that matters to people. People are looking for, whether it's a pH certification or a declare label. Shannon mentioned we're working on embodied carbon now. We want to do that in a useful kind of relevant way. I think that just having the EPD as an attachment is fine, but what you really want to be able to do is compare products for that zip code, what the life cycle analysis would be, and it's a little more complicated, but we're working on that. But I think anything we can do in that direction to create that transparency and make allow decisions to be based on that data will force the market players, the vendors, and manufacturers to conform to what people are demanding. So I think certification is really important in that way.
Awesome. Thank you.
We were just having that same conversation internally, Bronwyn. It is such a problem. And every time we meet with someone and discuss their project or their product, we try to push back a little bit just to understand how firm their priorities are so that we can see which ones rise to the top and which ones start to fall away. And that helps us understand how to help someone reach their goals, but it also helps us understand, what's important to a vendor and their product, and, whether a UL listing matters to them, or whether, a Canada UL listing matters to them. So we really do try to dig in as deeply as we can to solve these industry problems, because PHI has a great certification area for ventilation, and we tap into that all the time in order to see, who's leveling up. And then we talk to them and say, okay, what have you got planned for not just right now, but Q4 or next year? And then if we're not looking at certification, what kind of, are you on HVI.org, or what kind of metrics are you being transparent about, so that we can do energy modeling with this and take a hit, in one place because you've got something I want in another. But very important. And anything that you're using, if anyone has a manufacturer that you're using right now, or even a manifold system and ductwork system that you're using right now that works with other systems, that plays friendly in the sandbox, please throw it in the chat. We would love to hear what you're using and what you think works and what doesn't.
I
Hi,
have
Ashley.
Hi, I have like a little follow-up on that, because I noticed you guys have the Epica HRV, they're like a HRV heat pump system thing. And when I looked at them, I wasn't sure if they would really meet like the airtightness standards, or if there would be some problem there. I don't know if it's been used successfully in passive house projects, but I guess it just raises the question for me on for these mechanical systems or equipment that's not PHI certified product or whatever. Obviously, it'd be up to the project team to kind of vet it themselves and make sure it works with the model and everything. But I guess that also leads into like, how do you prevent like playing favoritism or like recommendations if like, how do you keep
Great question.
Source 2050 kind of like neutral when
My question.
there's
Thank you for
it's just
asking.
like an inherent like question mark there?
It's a great question, because for architects that have been designing all this time, I'm going to answer your question backwards, if that's okay. There's this level of integrity where you want to say, use a vapor open, sheet good, and be as non-denominational as possible, because you want performance and you don't want to name names and pledge allegiance to a manufacturer, especially when, manufacturers sometimes they have a recall, or, every window's had a leak, and there's always something that, we attach ourselves to enough liability as designers, right?
There's always
But
some.
but if you're a design build firm, you've already gotten past that hurdle, and you know that picking the products that you like, that are tried and true for you, that you're going to use over and over again, and naming those names saves you so much time and energy. And so we try to kind of use the best of both of those worlds by saying, okay, we have options in every category. So let's look at what your goals are and have a conversation, and then pick the one that you think is the best basis of design, and then pick an alternate one, alternate two, alternate three that matches your dimension, that matches your performance, that matches your price and lead time, so that if you do have to substitute in construction admin, it's not going to take you back into design development and back into the energy model and back to your certification body to see if it's going to work. You have already vetted your options and you have all of them ready to go. And you know which one you want first. And then you can swap them out if the first one becomes a problem because all of a sudden the lead time is completely changed. Or the builder just doesn't like it. You know, maybe the builder's like, you know what, I have a bad experience with that. I want something else. So we're trying to kind of give it that design build flavor when you've actually had a conversation with your builder before you've done your construction documents. But then back to the FOCA unit. So this, what was it branded in Italy, John, before they rebranded it for America?
I think it's Innova.
Yeah,
Or,
so it was at a couple Passive House conferences 3 years ago, before it was rebranded, and then they rebranded it for America. So it has been used in Passive House.
Okay.
We'll have to, you know, maybe look at each one of their units because they do have the cassettes and they've got the verticals, and they all have different performance characteristics. So, but it's an all-in-one. It's a really, really nice product, and
Have been used.
I like my jewelry behind the walls. I know a lot of people like their jewelry and their fixtures and their countertops, but I'm a sucker for the sexy mechanicals.
Yeah.
Are there other similar products?
There are. So we do have a few all-in-ones on the website. We've got
Minutair was one of your
Minutair,
sponsors.
yeah.
It's on the way here. And the gradient system, and it really feels like in the next 6-9 months, there's going to be kind of an explosion of options that we're talking with that are going to be available in the market that we're really excited about.
Yep, there's a few that we're dragging by the arm through the certification process to your earlier comment. So stay tuned.
We're trying to put them in our energy models right now just to see if they're going to perform. Oh,
Yeah,
the
but-
Passive House conference in Innsbruck. I don't know that I'll be there, but fingers crossed. Anyone else have a pain point? What's the thing that drives you crazy? What's the thing you hate to spec the most? It has to be windows, right?
Kitchen
Okay.
ventilation.
Kitchen ventilation.
Yeah, in California, we're required to do extract directly to the outside, which I actually really think is a good thing. And in California, Passive House is so easy that we can easily get away with it. But to get the right equipment for that extract at the hood, that's not too, it's under 400 CFM, but actually seals well, doesn't make like a crazy amount of noise, because honestly, most of them are total junk and they're horrible to use. So that is a product. If somebody could come up with a decent, like integrated system that also looks good and it works for islands and for a wall, that would be an awesome product to sort of get into and with really like a validated performance, energy use, and decibel rating.
That's such a great request. I want it too. I've seen some creative solutions, as you probably have too, for the wall units. I haven't seen any for the island, unless it's a downdraft, which is always a challenge because, you're fighting what the physics of the air wants to do in the first place. But, the Fantech MUA, I think it's the 700, is a really nice makeup air unit. And it's not too loud. It has great performance. I've also seen people locate them in different places, so it becomes a design problem a lot of the time. So it's not integrated in the hood. The only one I saw integrated in the hood, they pulled back off the market. We were trying to onboard it because I was like, oh my gosh, there it is. And it's got, you know, preheat for the integrated makeup air in the hood. I'm like, this is amazing. And they pulled it back off the market. So we do have one, and this gets us into the conversation that we have with vendors that are trying to get to market, that have something new. They're not big enough that they can go to the big warehouses and Home Depots of the world, and we can help them get in front of an audience. So we do have one product, and I'll try to pull it up while we're looking at it, but it's still
a
coming to
recirc.
market.
And it would be recirc. It's not straight. It's not that.
Oh, that's right. That one is a recirc, and it's got
Yeah.
crazy great physics behind it, but it wouldn't be allowed in California. And it's a very it's a difficult filter to understand if you've never seen it before, because there's a lot going on inside of it.
Yeah. But I think you're right. I mean, and that's that's a space that we're looking at with that product and others, where it really just the insight is your kitchen hood is should be considered part of the whole house air purification and monitoring system, and it's the most powerful filter you likely have in your home. It could do more than just your cooking air, and it should be talking to your ERV and your HVAC and that. So it should be a holistic approach to air quality.
The Chinese, by the way, have the best solutions. At the conference I went to in 2019, they had amazing stuff for cooking, because they do wok cooking, big smoke. If you guys get into the Chinese manufacturing market, I saw some of the most interesting innovation at that expo that I had seen in many years. So go to China. They're doing stuff that we need to be doing.
Did you happen to take any pictures you could share?
I did. I wrote a whole Twitter thread about it with all the manufacturers on it. I will dig that up and send it to you, Shannon, because
Thank
there was
you.
stuff on there, vacuum insulated glazing. Yeah, and their museum at their whole expo center was insane. Whole passive house museum built to the passive house standards with all the products, the physics sort of explaining it. I mean, it just blew my mind.
Beautiful.
So
Ah, that sounds
those
like a
are the
real vacation, a nerdy vacation. I love it.
yeah, it was. And very
Wonderful.
unexpected. It was sort of innovation I hadn't anticipated, but there's lots of good stuff happening there.
Yeah, that all sounds wonderful. And I think that is a good note to end on, as we are at the top of the hour.
Anyway, if you want to join Passive House California here, let me click because you'll wind up with the info at Passive House California website, passivehousecal.org. And you could sign up for our monthly newsletter there and get indications. You'll find out what the community meeting is the next month over and over again. You have an individual professional membership. If you want to join as a company, that includes an individual professional membership, but your company gets listed as the company as well. And of course, there's an opportunity to sponsor or donor or volunteer. So passivehousecal.org is where you can learn all about that. If you'd like to learn more, we thank you for being here, your time and attention. We'd love you to be the difference. Here's the info at passivehousecal.org, or because I am semi-retired, if there's something that I might be able to help you with, or you go through my j.gentry at passivehousecal.org is how to reach me. So thank you to everyone, and